Welcome everyone to our second alumni speaker series of the fall, where we have a great speaker today in Dr. Melissa Siebert. And so we're happy to have you join us both virtually and in the classroom, and we look forward to hearing what Dr. Siebert has to say. So for those of you that are participating today, please register and share your feedback utilizing this QR code. We'll also share this at the end of the presentation as well. But don't forget to take a minute and provide us feedback for the survey. We want to hear from you. As always, we're very appreciative of the support and partnership with Campus Federal. Before Kayla introduces our speaker, I do want to recognize Campus Federal for their continued support and sponsorship of this program and the speaker series. I think we might have a representative in the room or on the call just to speak about Campus Federal. But again, they are a great sponsor of our event, and we're appreciative of everything they do to support College of Ag. Okay, let's go to get Miss Roxanne. There she is. Living in a virtual world.
Living in a virtual world. Okay, you're fine.
There we go. I can hear y'all.
Great. Thank you. Thank y'all so much for letting us be here. Just want to say that Campus Federal is happy to partner with the LSU Ag Student Association to sponsor the College of Ag Speaker Series. This is a great opportunity for students to hear from alumni regarding their careers. And just like the alumni who want to make a difference in your life, so does Campus Federal. Started in 1934, Campus Federal is a full-service financial institution with 2 locations on campus, one here in the Student Union, and then one near the Energy Coast and Environment Building on South Quad Drive. We are committed to excellent member experiences with continual investments in our digital and physical presence. You can visit us at campusfederal.org to learn more about our products and services, open an account, and check out our extensive financial education resources. So if you have a question, you can look on our website. We have a financial education resource that has all different topics you can look at. Campus Federal strives to be a trusted financial partner for every stage of your life. And if y'all, when you're done here, you can go to the Fall Fest. We have a table out there. We're also doing a little game where you can guess the amount of money in a jar. And we're giving away some door prizes. So I hope that you'll stop by and visit us. So thank you to the College of Ag for this opportunity, and good luck to you for the rest of the semester. Thank you.
Thanks, Roxanne. So now I'm going to introduce Ms. Kayla Bitton. She is our Ag Student Association president. And these are also all of our officers for the Ag Student Association on the screen here. But Kayla is here to welcome everyone and also introduce our speaker. Kayla.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody in the room and on Zoom. Again, my name is Kayla Benton. I'm current president of Agriculture Student Association. And today's speaker is Dr. Melissa Siebert. Dr. Siebert joined Dow Agrisciences in 2004 after receiving a Bachelor in Science in Plant Science from Texas A&M University and a master's and PhD in entomology from Louisiana State University in 2001 and 2004. She currently leads the insecticide and nematode discovery and field science organization for Corteva Agriscience, and earlier roles included serving as a biology teacher, a biology learner for insecticides across North America and Central America, and field station scientist and field station leader at the Southern U.S. Research Center in Greenville, Mississippi. Dr. Siebert is a passionate volunteer leader within entomology and for Entomological Society of America. She has been directly involved with the development of a diverse range of agricultural technologies for the Southern crop production system and has made significant contributions to pest management in agriculture. In 2016, Dr. Siebert was honored by the Mississippi Business Journal as one of the top 50 under 40 business leaders, and the following year was a recipient of our LSU Agricultural Early Career Alumni Award. Her favorite memory at LSU is all the time spent collaborating and learning from the major professors, other professors, and fellow graduate students. Dr. Siebert resides in Greensville, Mississippi with her husband, Jonathan, and daughter, Claire. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Melissa Siebert as this month's alumni speaker.
Well, thanks, Kayla, for that introduction. Really excited to be here today. And thanks again, Lindsay, for the opportunity to speak. Today I'm going to cover a lot of ground, talk about some of the things I think have worked in my career and leave you with some career advice. But I'm really going to talk a lot about experiences, how you should think about, developing and maximizing all the experiences that you can make for yourself at every stage of your career. Next slide, Lindsay. So you heard Kayla give a little bit of introduction about my education and training, and I'll talk a little bit about that more later. But again, I'm currently at Corteva, and my current role is in a global capacity, leading a biology team in the insecticide, nematicide, and seed applied technology discovery and development space. And as she mentioned as well, have a lot of roles even outside of Corteva around journals and the society. So I'm going to talk very briefly about who is Corteva Agrisciences, where do I fit in the organization, and then talk about some of the experiences I think helped influence my career and where I've been able to get today. Next slide, Lindsay. So Corteva Agrisciences became a standalone a publicly traded company in June of 2019, brand new agri-science company. But it started with three very storied agricultural companies coming together. So Dow Agrisciences, Pioneer, and DuPont Crop Protection. So three companies you may have heard about. And so Corteva, we are a technology provider. We develop new crop protection solutions, nitrogen management solutions for growers. We also are involved in seeds, so generating germplasm, traits that go in seeds, and then taking those crop protection solutions and putting them on the seed as a seed applied technology. And then we have a third platform that's really centered around digital space. So how can we bring the technologies to the growers such that they can incorporate using digital tools, software, new technologies to optimize their programs and make them even more sustainable. So we're a global company, 20,000 plus colleagues worldwide, hundreds manufacturing facilities, 140 plus R&D facilities, footprint in 130 countries, and actually 3 business centers here in the United States. So a large agricultural company doing a diversity of things, but out there meeting the needs of our farmers and growers for the future and today. Next slide. So where do I fit in the organization? So, in the organization, we've got a research and development arm, commercial, manufacturing, different groups. Well, I fall within research and development, and I'm squarely in the area of product development and the process it takes to go from what is an idea or discovery to ultimately a technology that's brought to a grower or a customer. And so we have, kind of 2 ways we have a product development process, a crop protection solution in that path, and then a trait technology as well. And so, for me, I'm in that crop protection space. One thing about this process, it's pretty long. Right now, on average, it takes about 12 years to take this idea and bring it to a solution. And it's quite costly, on average, about $300 million to bring these solutions to the marketplace. Next slide, Lindsay. And so just to kind of dive in even deeper, if you look at the crop protection solution development pipeline, what I've got highlighted here are biology research and development activities. So as mentioned, we've got other groups such as regulatory, manufacturing, supply, and such, but my group is charged with biology research and development. So things like screening the new technologies, both in the lab and the field, understanding how it's going to fit in a farmer's field, that technical positioning, and then ultimately transferring all that technology in a format to our internal sales reps and externally to the growers and customers. Next slide. So again, going back deeper to my team, I've got the team charged with this process that covers the space of insecticides, nematicides, and seed applied technology. And really for the whole product development process, I've got a whole list of different science backgrounds and agriculture backgrounds that are needed to really drive this process. So it's a lot of different people and a lot of background areas of expertise. But specifically for my team, I have agronomists, entomologists, nematologists, and plant pathologists that support and make our process successful. So ultimately, my team is really accountable for everything biology. So the technical package, understanding, what's the right place, the right rate, the right time to use the product, what does it work against? And we're using all of this through, a lot of diligence and, how we do our science, how we design our trials, and then interpreting those data, and then also collaborating with a whole range of stakeholders, to make sure what we're developing is something useful for our end user, and it's, comes the way we expect it, and it delivers what they need. Next slide, Lindsay. So looking at my team that I manage, they're actually globally diverse, based in 13 countries, and they range from being hands-on scientists, so in the lab, especially when we're thinking about that discovery phase, and then biology leaders, so individuals that may not be doing day-to-day hands-on field or lab work, but more or less managing projects on a regional or global basis to ensure they come through successfully. Next slide. And so when you look at my role relative to my team, I feel like some days I wear many hats, and this is what it looks like. Certainly employee development is first and foremost. So, helping ensure and developing employees to make them successful, both technically and for the projects they're working on. And one thing that I really like about Corteva is that our leaders are always scientists, people that have been in the roles before. And so they can really appreciate and know when you're an employee and you have a problem, they've most likely been in your shoes or that experience in the past. And so, that's what I know, looking up to my leaders in the past, I really liked about Corteva and the leaders we have in our science organization. I'm also charged with, ensuring that my team meets the technical deliverables. So, we're provided a budget, and we're expected to answer certain research questions, that we're actually delivering those answers in a timely manner, within budget, and meeting the milestones that we're asked. Also aligning with the business. So, we work closely with our business stakeholders to make sure we're, in sync, in alignment, such that, what we do on the research biology side, matches their goals as well, and what our customers need. So we're all working towards the same goals. I do a lot of strategic planning, so thinking about it, a lot of thinking into the future, even our product development pipeline. What we discover and work on today are things that will not make it to the market still for another 10 to 12 years. So we're constantly thinking, what do we need in terms of people, workforce, capabilities, what do we need to be successful? And so thinking 10, 12 years, sometimes in advance, to get that together. And then also, serve as a science leader, both my team and the company. So, constantly, so many things are changing in our world, so many disruptive things. We've gone through the pandemic today, but certainly a number of different things will happen and change, whether it's related to water or labor or climate crisis, things like that. But how are we going to react and start shaping the technologies that will be needed under those scenarios later, but thinking about those today. So constantly thinking about new technologies and how to, grow Corteva in our company. And that's what's really cool about being an industry scientist, and, even what I do. But, really the success of the company, lies in our hands. So, It's we have an owner's mindset, thinking of the future, and know that we can make or break and really shape what we do as Corteva going forth, and being there for grower, farmer, customers as well. Next slide, Lindsay. So I'd say I'm going to talk a little bit about key competency. So when I look back at my career, and I've studied others and having developed employees, there's certainly a number of things that one should have effectiveness towards that really leads to career success or being effective in a role or on a project, things like that. And so I'm going to spend some time going through these 5 different competencies that I think are pretty important. We'll talk about some examples, and then I'll also go through kind of each of my previous roles in Corteva and Dow, and some of the examples that I think where I was able to exemplify these sort of competencies. So we're going to talk about, business and technical knowledge, having great personal leadership, the need to have great interpersonal effectiveness, being able to innovate and be creative, and then this idea of operating with change. So, we're going to talk about this in some of the next slides and stories. Next slide. So starting with business and technical knowledge. So, this is really your ticket into any job, having some sort of area of expertise. And this is really, your degree, and, just showing that there's some area that you have some sort of expertise in. This is the business and technical knowledge. And what I can say is this is hugely important. Don't get me wrong, but really these next 4 competencies are really some of the most important. And so I'll go back to LSU. Go back real quick, Lindsay. When you get a degree from LSU, a reputable university, people can look at your resume, your transcript, who you work for. There's not a lot of questions asked after that in general, because employers, respect that university. They've done their due diligence in training you. So then it really is about these next sort of competencies. Okay, next slide, Lindsay. So personal leadership, and a lot of my examples may be more towards, I went through a graduate program. I understand maybe we even have undergraduates in the in the audience. So, keep in mind some of the examples I show, maybe things that may not be so frequent as an undergrad, but these are some of the things I always go to thinking as a graduate student, and what got me into my career, which did require an advanced degree. So again, personal leadership is important, whether you're a student in a role professionally, but being able to show accountability, that you're reliable and that you're responsible. And so, one of the examples I always use is, in the area of research, having published, that really shows that, you did the research, you followed through, and, you really brought that science to the public domain, which is one of the end goals. And so you were able to show you could take something from start to finish, so achieving a goal. I show this other picture of this insecticide fact sheet. So again, related to my real job, but, collecting a lot of data in the field, interpreting it, making something up, but ultimately bringing that back to our commercial team such that they can use it to work with farmers, show how the technology can be used. But these are things they expected of me, and I was able to deliver. Next slide, Lindsay. Interpersonal effectiveness. So this is this area of teamwork and communication. And thinking communication is being able to, convey messages to a wide variety of audiences. So, for me, I may speak to in science forums. So in those science forums, those audiences are looking for, heavy statistics, a lot of data, things like that. But then at the same time, I may be asked to, visit a farm chemical shop and, talk in a little bit more basic language. So still credible, but maybe not with such the deepness of the statistics and some of the science. So in a meeting, that individual can understand. And then, translating that also into writing. So science writing, more popular press writing, being able to communicate in a diversity of ways. And then teamwork is huge. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, about how you work as well. Next slide. Innovation and creativity. So, I knew for a long time I wanted to work for industry, but the one thing that always kind of made me question myself if I could fit in industry was whether, man, am I smart enough to find that $1 million idea or, that next thing that's going to make the company? And, certainly those are always great examples if you can find that $1 million discovery. But what I also learned is that it's just about not being content with the status quo. So, just thinking outside the box. If there's a better way to do a research trial, something that, maybe saves a little money or is, saves some time, finding efficiencies in things, or just, there's other ways to innovate besides, cracking the code on some, again, huge $1 million type of discovery. So, just examples there, but been able to demonstrate that, again, you're not content with the status quo, and you're always, looking to make other things more effective, processes, things like that. Next slide. And then the other thing is being able to embrace and operate with change. So, showing flexibility. And again, all of us here in the last 18 months or so with the pandemic have had to, deal with a lot of change. But I think whether you work for industry or private sector, public sector, there's always going to be change, organizational change, new leaders, new strategies, things like that. And so, rather than, think of change as negative, I always like to think of change as positive. It's it's an opportunity to learn something. And these are the types of experiences that really can make you better and grow as an individual and a professional. And so, as you heard in the beginning, I'm an entomologist. I've spent almost all of my career doing entomology work for the most part. But there was a time I was asked to step up and do some plant pathology work. I really embraced that. That's a picture of a powdery mildew trial that I was doing. But it's just an opportunity to learn a new discipline, maybe learn from some different people you might not have worked with before. And it just makes you a broader person, more experiences. And so you always think about change is good and being flexible. These are the types of things that you want to be able to talk about doing within your career, embracing change. Next slide. So once we got past the business and the technical knowledge and having some sort of specific skill set, basically all of those other competencies we can classify as kind of these non-technical skills. And, just these are really important. And why is that? And so they really are the basis for you as a person and professional. And these are the things that are transferable. So whether you go from one project to another, one job to another, whether you're doing your day job or then you go to do a community service thing in your community at night, having these skill sets, just make you effective. Again, they are discriminating factors when you get into job searches. If there's an interview with 4 or 5 candidates, maybe they all have the same degree from LSU, and it's a very strong background. These are the types of factors that will separate one individual from the other. And it's not just talking about these technical skills, but also having examples through your career where you've been able to demonstrate the different things that I just talked about. And I don't know the status of LSU today, but just in general, across the country, there's not like coursework you can take for this sort of thing. You really have to kind of be a self-starter and come up with your own plan and what you're going to do to grow these non-technical skills. Again, you might lean on an advisor in a department or a mentor and certainly do that. But, just know that you might have to step up on your own and take responsibility to develop these skills. Next slide, Lindsay. And so just going back to industry, but it's really not unique to industry. It's going to be unique to, having a professional role at LSU or any sort of job, really. Project management in industry is super important. It's super critical to project success. And, when you go back to that timeline I showed, that it's 12 years from finding an idea to bringing it to a farmer. That is the results of hundreds, thousands of individual projects. And every project has a timeline, some milestone that has to be met, a budget that can't be exceeded, and things like that. And so these skills that I talked about are super critical for being really good project managers as well, which again is very critical, especially in the private sector. Next slide. So I'm going to just kind of go through the different, start actually when I was an undergraduate and then up to my last role, into my current role, maybe talk a little bit more. Talk about some of the experiences that I had through my career where I was able to show these different competencies. One thing I think you're going to see is that every experience I had really built upon to the next one. And you should also hear some stories where I think I made some good decisions that really, helped me in my career. And I'll try and give some insights into those in case they're helpful for you. And then I've got this arrow talking about external influence. And, I as mentioned, I'm very active outside of Corteva and outside of my specific job I've always had, whether it's the science or the community, things like that. And I think those are pretty important too, to where you can help develop these skills and then, really become more visible, as a scientist. Next slide. So looking at my undergraduate experiences. So again, I went to Texas A&M, and I was, as a kid, I was involved in FFA. And so that's what got me into the ag program. But to be honest with you, I was a little not sure what I wanted to do within ag. But within the department, I got involved, joined the soil judging team, agronomy club. There was an opportunity to attend a Beltwide Cotton Conference. So that was pretty cool as well. I still was a little not sure what I wanted to do with agronomy degree, but started listening to some of the advisors in the department, and they started mentioning to me things about grad school and what that could mean. And then the internship program started to become advertised, and they really encouraged me. Look, Melissa, this is what you're gonna. It's gonna help introduce you to some possible careers. Think this would be really valuable for you. And so, I was considering this versus some other things, and really look at this internship at Roman Haas back in 1998 as being pretty valuable. And so I got to work on a research farm with an entomologist, a weed scientist, and a plant pathologist. And I got to learn all about those research areas, got to do my first research trial. But it was really that experience that, allowed me to know that, wow, this is what I want to do for a career. It was during that summer that I met LSU entomologists. So Dr. Gene Reagan, we were working in sugarcane. And so I was able to build my network as well. And so this was the launching point to know I wanted to apply to LSU, do a career in entomology, and get my graduate career going. That final year at A&M, also decided I was going to do some extra work outside of my coursework, and did a student worker position. I knew nothing about a nematode, but the job was open and it fit my schedule, and so I took it on. Interesting, now I'm leading nematode research and development, and it was only until recent, probably in the last 10 years, that I realized that guy I worked for at the USDA, he was one of the world authorities on root knot nematode resistance in cotton. So kind of cool, some of the experiences I had. So again, maybe some key points is, go out and look for those opportunities to job shadow, internships. Think about those as, the things that are going to start building your network, and really clarify what exactly you want to do, later on, because there's so many things out there and unique sort of opportunities that, may not be discoverable unless you get involved with some sort of intern experience. Next slide. So again, it was through meeting Dr. Reagan that I onboarded then at LSU and worked with Dr. Badel for my master's, and then finally Dr. Leonard for my PhD. Not sure if anybody knows these two individuals. They're retired now, but legends in the field of entomology, legends in Louisiana, and the legends in the LSU Ag Center. So I couldn't have had two better mentors in entomology. But they were outstanding. Some of the things they reinforced to me were, not just focusing on your own research, but, getting engaged with the other graduate students, helping them with their research, making sure my research was just not field oriented, but also lab. So, these were the types of things that showed flexibility. I was kind of branching out, building teams, kind of showing some diversity within my research program. As advisors, they really reinforced publications, public speaking, and serving Entomological Society of America. And I'll say they, would tell me to do these things, suggest, but it wasn't ever forced upon me. But I was the type of person, I could tell when somebody gently pushed an idea towards me, that gentle push was probably, you need to do this. And I did it. And I think that's probably something, students should think about is if an advisor gives a piece of advice, they're not doing it just to, tell you. There's something back there that they know it's good for you. And sometimes you just need to do it and act on it. They would give me ideas. Hey, when your research, have you thought about this? What if you started testing this? Well, rather than just hear that and walk away, I actually followed through, and it generated another publication. So, again, look at your professors, your advisors, and listen to every word they're telling you, because it's for a reason. So again, my graduate experience at LSU was outstanding. I really established myself as a solid entomologist. I grew my reputation locally, but even nationally through the Entomological Society of America. And I left with so many examples when I walked in my interview to talk about how I worked on teams, taking projects from start to finish, my writing ability, speaking ability, things like that. So lots of stories from my graduate experience for when I got to that interview process. Next slide. So my first job was at Dow Agrisciences in Greenville, Mississippi at a field station. And, I walked into the job and I pretty much knew the job. It was the job I did as graduate students. It was just new products, maybe new people, things like that. So the technical part was a piece of cake. What was required is, kind of learning the way of working at Dow and industry. And so that really required a lot of proactive communication on my part. So I was sitting in Greenville, a small station, 100 acres, 4 people. Basically, everybody that was counting on me was sitting in Indianapolis, Indiana. And, my philosophy was, I'm not waiting on them to call me. I'm going to call them. And so, I always made sure I was very visible to the business folks in Indianapolis. And this is something I'm going to keep talking about is visibility. Don't wait for somebody to call you. Figure out a way to be visible, making connections with people that are important to you, setting up one-on-ones, phone calls, real calls, Zoom calls, whatever it takes. But don't wait and think somebody's going to come find you. You've got to go make sure you are being visible. So one thing that was happening in the station when I arrived in 2004 was that it was doing 100% cotton research. Well, shortly thereafter, cotton was not becoming the dominant crop in the South, but we had a crop mix changing to soybeans and corn. And even the company was doing more research in vegetables. And I could see what was happening. Either I was going to figure out how to switch the research philosophy at the station, or I was going to be left behind. So I was really being proactive. And, I just started doing other crop research. I started growing vegetables in Mississippi, and I was being influential and impactful on projects when it really wasn't expected, but I didn't want to be left behind. So I was being proactive. So again, demonstrating proactivity and then following that through to completion. So the next great breakthrough, this third bullet point, was that we had a new molecule that came down that needed a field screen. And what I discovered was some it was activity that was not expected on a key pest of cotton, and that's a tarnished plant bug. And so, was Because of my close hands-on science, I was able to make this discovery, but it wasn't just about making that discovery and, oh, wow, it kills this insect, but really taking that observation I had, but translating it into how it would work in the field, what rate it would work for the grower, how it would be used, helping the business design the concept and helping them understand how important this would be for growers. And so really took that idea from start to finish. And again, another proof point of finishing a project. The fourth thing was I had the opportunity to do a sabbatical in New Zealand. And this is one of these kind of, you need to be flexible approaches. So I think only a year into working with Dow, and this opportunity came. And I was a little nervous. Oh, that's a long flight. It's 4 months. Can I be away from home? And, my boss almost had to kind of kick me, like, what are you thinking? You're the only person asked to do this. This is an experience of a lifetime. You are going to learn a lot about the company, agriculture, things like that. And so this is one of those things, again, thinking about your mentors and advisors. Sometimes you just have to trust them that they've got really good advice. And that was one of those points as well. So be flexible and listen. During this time as well, I was getting involved with the Mississippi Entomological Association, so building credibility there. And then also, volunteering my time with the Journal of IPM as a subject editor as well. Next slide. So still at the station, about 5 years in, after just being a scientist, I was provided the opportunity to also manage the station. And this one I wasn't too scared about doing because I had been at the station. I knew what my previous leader was doing, and I kind of knew what was going to happen. So I felt more comfortable. But this was truly a really great experience because it gave me that first taste and opportunity to help people, manage people, their development, also learning a lot. So site management, everything from the day-to-day budget operations, managing budgets, safety. I think I'm an expert now at electrical standards and worker protection standards. So, things that I didn't know before, I know now. But these are almost like tests. The company was giving me a test. Could I jump into something new and out of body and be successful? What I came to find out is that it's really exciting when you lead people and that they're successful. And so, one of the things I learned is that you can be a leader, and it really can be very impactful in delivering the science and the solutions. So at this time as well, I continued to do more ESA service. And, the example I have here is, I never just sit on a committee and just answer emails or provide opinions, but really try and find opportunities for me to make a difference on a committee. And, in this particular committee I was on, they'd been talking apparently for many years about making like an operations manual. And so I stepped up and did it. Probably only took me about a day, but, everybody was super excited about it. So just look at those little opportunities to take a small project, take it to completion. And it really shows, your credibility with groups and that you can get things done. So again, this role, showed I could learn new things, build new experiences, and then opened up bigger roles. Next slide. So my next opportunity that came to me, and this is where I was starting to get hesitant again. They said, Melissa, we have a role for you managing projects across the North America, Meso-Andean region. This would be an awesome opportunity for you, Melissa. I was quite, nervous. Could I do this? Because I had seen previous people in the role and I thought they were rock stars. And I was like, I don't know if I'm that person. The second thing is I thought, wow, I'm not doing hands-on research anymore. I'm going to be managing projects. Can I have as much fun if I'm not connected hands-on to the science every day, collecting a piece of data? And so what I found out is that it's been quite rewarding. I was able to grow my market knowledge across all these geographies, really accelerated my understanding of how products are actually developed. So at my previous roles, I was very specific in certain areas. I was seeing one piece of the product development process. And so this has really broadened my view of things and understanding as an industry scientist. Working across countries, borders, cultures, really forced me to have to learn how to communicate differently. And then, of course, learning about diverse cultures as well. As this role happened, my sphere of influence increased. So I wasn't just an individual contributor, but had to work to ensure all those other individuals were working together and meeting the business goals as well. So it became quite rewarding. Still at this time, I'm very active at ESA, continue to take more responsibility. And in this particular example, again, this, leadership had come to some of the leaders within ESA and it kind of gently said, hey, we really need to do more to get engaged in science policy. We really should be, working outside of just our ESA members and influencing science. So a lot of people heard that, but I heard that and I acted. And one of the things I developed was a first ever stakeholder tour on pollinators. So it was an ESA-led tour, had a lot of stakeholders from EPA, a variety of industry, NGOs getting together, talking about pollinators. But it was one of those things that when I proposed the idea, I had a number of people who thought I couldn't do it and then was able to pull it off within 12 months. And so, these are the types of things that could show, again, that personal leadership, saw an opportunity to do something and brought it through to completion. So it's all about completion and doing things in a timely manner. Next slide. So we talked about what I do today, but now back to what I'm doing today, my role today. So again, I think all the success I had in my prior roles where I was able to, demonstrate my competencies, the timely start to finish of projects, learning new things as I went, really helped. I had a reputation of strong collaboration, and that's really important. And I have this written, how matters. You can know a ton of stuff, but if how you work is negative, or it breaks relationships, or it makes teams negative and not positive, it doesn't matter how smart you are or how much you know, it's all about the hows. The hows matter a lot. But if you can couple the what's, knowing a lot, and being able to operate very effectively with the how, really the sky's the limit on what you can do. The other thing I was going to mention, if you notice, my location never changed. So I've been working for Dow, now Corteva, in Greenville, Mississippi since 2004. I've never worked at a business center. And, I have always had to, figure out from a remote location how to be visible. And, it's getting involved on committees, raising your hand to do stuff, being proactive in communication, just not being silent. And I think that pretty much well equipped me once we started working virtually during the COVID pandemic. I had been working like it was a pandemic before there was a pandemic. So, all those skill sets, I think, really equipped me to get through the times we're working through right now. But still lots of challenges. I've got a Zoom screen of my team, still trying to figure out ways when we can't travel and see each other to make things fun and keep teams motivated. Very important. I'm constantly learning. It was just in the last probably 4 months, I had the seed applied technology, biology responsibility added to my team. Yes, I know what a seed applied technology is, but the inner workings on how it all comes together, still a little new to me, but I'm learning. And, I think for every role, just thinking about priorities and figuring out what's the biggest thing you got to do every day and focusing efforts there is really key. I think I got one more slide, Lindsay. So just a couple, kind of final notes on professional development advice. Again, these non-technical skills, these are foundational to your career success. And so I would challenge you, what is your story of experiences that demonstrates those skills? Start kind of thinking about what your examples are as you're going into a job interview or an interview for a graduate program, things like that. And really, this is the basis of behavioral interviewing. So if you're not familiar with this, go Google it. But a lot of companies and places basically use this approach. And what they're trying to do is see how you're going to be as a future employee based on your past experiences. So, asking you about, tell me about an experience when you drove a project to completion or things like that. Again, listen to your mentors and leaders around you. They have great stuff to tell you, and don't just listen, but no kidding, follow through on it and act, because it really will help you in the long run. Always know that the complexity of projects and your experiences are going to increase in your career, but things get easier and you'll be prepared. Be visible. So don't just wait for somebody to call you. You find a way to call somebody else or be visible to some person or some stakeholder, whoever's important kind of in your work or school life. And probably the final thing is like, see yourself doing big things. I think I was very fortunate. I had leaders, and this was from graduate school, undergraduate, and now down at Corteva, that probably saw me doing more bigger things than I saw in myself. So, really, think differently about yourself. You really can do this, but just create those experiences that can get you to that place. So that's really all I had for you, Lindsay. I don't know if there's any questions, but that's I think that wraps it up.
Wow, very impressive, Dr. Siebert. Thank you. Yes, I'm gonna open it up to questions. If you're on the call, feel free to put your questions in the chat or unmute yourself and just ask them. We also have a large group in the classroom, and so we'll have them individually ask questions and they'll come up, is what we did last time, I think. Here comes someone. Oh,
Hello, can y'all hear me good?
yeah. Can you
Yes.
move the camera up a little bit?
Oh.
See your face? There we go. Okay.
You see me okay?
Mhm.
Yes.
All right. I enjoyed your talk. Thanks for coming today. My question to you is in regards to the world of crop consulting. I'm a second-year graduate student in the Department of Entomology here, working in the soybean lab. And my future goal after I finish my degree is to be an independent crop consultant, really in rice and soybean. And my question is, what are three, like thinking globally, what are three technologies? They're not necessarily big right now, but for someone in my position, what are three technologies that I should be aware of moving forward that could be pretty commonplace in agriculture in the future? And thank you.
All right. Hey, great question, and thanks for the role of a crop consultant is huge. So I just wanted to first commend you for going for that career path. That's huge. And we work every day, Corteva, with crop consultants, and you guys are very important for growers and what they're doing. Just a lot of stuff around digital. How can we maximize all the data we have to get products at the right place at the right time, to really keep use rates low, the footprint of crop protection solutions at the lowest possible level. So every place around the world is probably at a different place in terms of some of this technology coming to the market, but there's a lot of stuff happening. As mentioned, I work globally. Probably the country that is very fast paced in this area of drones is in China. It is phenomenal on what they're able to do. And when you look at smallholder farms, small farms, these are pretty impactful technologies on what they've been able to do. And as labor, becomes lower, again, a lot of labor was used for, hand sort of cultural practices, things like that. Three technologies. Again, it's just a lot about data. How can we take all the data we have and make better predictions? I think, there's a lot of things I could envision into the future, such as there are certainly a number of lots of apps and things that are going to, let's say, detect pests and make recommendations, but how could more grower decisions and thinking you as a crop consultant could be made within a phone? So it kind of, could you imagine waking up in the morning, you kind of get your fields that you're going to go to, and you probably already have insights into, those are the areas of the field I should check. The satellites and the data are already showing that there may be some, I don't know, hot spots of fall armyworm or something in certain places. So I think, that to me is something that I envision as being really cool, is how can we take all the data that's out there and help better inform the work that you're probably going to do in the future, to where you can get to those places the fastest, ground truth, what the iPhone is telling you, and then ultimately validate that recommendation that the iPhone may give you some, kind insights into a recommendation.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions from the chat or from the classroom? Here comes someone, it looks like.
Hi, from your talk and how you manage so many projects with a different type of people and working with a lot of different people, what was a time where you had a conflict, and like how do you usually like resolve those conflicts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly. You got to get a kind of good strategy on how to work in teams, and working with people. Everybody comes from a different background, place of understanding, things like that. I think one of the things I try and do, and I'm thinking about this as my new team, and when we had the merger with our 3 companies making Corteva, I started leading a team of 12 people, and 6 people didn't know me from Mickey Mouse. And that was a new challenge for me. They didn't know who Melissa Siebert was, like the 6 people that worked for Dow. So I had no credibility with them. I would say one thing is just first starting to get to know your teammates and their background, and just having one-on-one conversations, setting expectations early, coming to common understanding of what you need and then asking what they need. Sometimes just being transparent from the front can help smooth things over, because sometimes a lot of things are very minor miscommunications, misunderstandings. Perhaps just thinking about communication, you may get frustrated because you can't ever get a response from somebody from 12 to 4 during the day. You get frustrated, but maybe if you communicate early, you find out, well, from 12 to 4, that person is locked up, can't communicate for whatever reason, maybe a family commitment, maybe they're locked down with lab studies or something. But those are the types of things, if you can preempt, come to understanding of what you expect and ask them what they expect of you, kind of go both ways. Those are types of things that before you start working in teams might go a long way. And in fact, even on my ESA committee assignments, we're on, again, committees where I don't necessarily know everybody. We spend time just trying to get to know each other, understanding expectations, what we all want to get out of the team meeting as well. I think you're muted. Okay.
Yes, salute the board, and I just wanted to not ask a question. It's almost time to wrap up, but one, I wanted to thank you. The excellent talk. I'm very grateful for you supporting our alumni speaker series, and I'm really thrilled, even though a few have already had to leave for class. I want to thank all of the students that have come to participate in this program. Excellent advice. Really should continue to do this. Internships, mentoring programs, I can't emphasize enough. If I have my way, every graduate of our program would have an internship and or an undergraduate research project sometime in their tenure here as a student at LSU. And so I think we're about run out of time. Ashley, thank you, and Lindsay, and I'm so grateful that you've recorded this. We can use it again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Lindsay, and everyone. Appreciate it, the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Siebert, and again, some really invaluable advice that can be taken from today's speech. And I really appreciate you dedicating for some time today. I know your schedule is really hectic and busy, and so thanks for finding out some time for us. I appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Have a great weekend and afternoon.
Thanks. You too. Thank you. So for those still on the call and in the classroom, remember we have Career Prep Week coming up. Don't forget to register.